At Citi Field in New York, Pix 11 presents New York Mets baseball tonight. The Mets play the Colorado Rockies. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by the Hyundai Summer Clearance Event going on now at your Hyundai dealer. By Spectrum, join America's fastest growing TV, internet, and voice provider. By Toyota, tested, trusted, Toyota, let's go places. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, more science, less fear. And by your Tri-State Land Rover retailer. Mets got back to New York yesterday and were feeling awfully good about the start to their second half with a 14-2 win. The sights and sounds of New York proving to be inspiration for a Mets team looking to make a summer run in New York. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez with you tonight as the Mets play the middle game of their series against the Colorado Rockies. As Met fans await the arrival of the young phenom, Ahmed Rosario, the shortstop of the future for the Mets, many folks have missed the point that the current shortstop is having a pretty good time of it. Jose Reyes, who had a dreadful first 2.5 months as a Met this year, has been raging hot.
Well, you look at those numbers. That 184 batting average was as of June 15th, the old trade deadline. And since then, he's been tearing it up as you see the numbers. And if you want to go even further, in his last 12 games, almost hitting at a 400 clip, hitting with extra base hits, also hitting in the clutch and scoring runs and kind of being the igniter that Jose has always been. Does him moving to shortstop have anything to do with this? I kind of think it does, Gary.
And 3 hits last night against the team that is paying his salary this year. By the way, you look awfully spiffy in your new Pix polo.
Just call me John Hadel.
Very nice. Meanwhile, on the mound for the Mets tonight, it's Seth Lugo, who the Mets really need to pick it up in the second half.
Well, Seth has coming off a relief appearance right before the All-Star break. His last start at Washington, he got roughed up pretty good. He's looking to get back on the snide here. He's only had 1 appearance career-wise against Colorado, and that was just a three-inning relief appearance. Gave up 2 runs.
Tyler Chatwood is the most veteran pitcher in the Rockies starting rotation, but he is leading the league in walks right now.
57 to be exact, Gary, and that has been his problem. He had a really good month of June, but this has been a tough year for him. He's got 10 losses. That also is tied for the league lead with those 10 losses. So he's 3-0 against the Mets lifetime. So the Mets need to keep the ball rolling here.
It's a beautiful night in New York. It's fireworks night at Citi Field. The Mets try to make it 2 straight over the Rockies. All the action coming your way tonight right here on Pix 11. Tomorrow is McDonald's Family Sunday. The Mets take on the Rockies at 1:10. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Mets mini bat presented by Papa John's. Plus, all kids 12 and under can run the bases after the game in the Mr. Met Dash, courtesy of Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sundays. Themes of the game brought to you by the Hyundai Summer Clearance Event.
Oh, gosh, shades of Clint Eastwood, the good. Look at the Mets when Cespedes has multiple hits. My goodness, what a difference, huh? The bad, Tyler Chatwood. Oh, he walks too many guys. The ugly, Colorado on the road, but better this year. We'll see.
Hugh Montenegro, the theme.
Eli Wallach.
From the good, the
Tuco,
bad, and the ugly.
Blondie.
Seth Lugo making his way in, trying for the good tonight. His first pitch is coming right up. $14 runs last night. Mets had never scored that many runs in their first game back from the All-Star break. They broke the record set by the '86 team. Another 86 mark that falls by the wayside.
No, that's okay. It's a different era.
Seth Lugo trying to take what Jacob deGrom did last night with his 8 innings and 11 strikeouts and run with that and try and get this rotation geared up. Here's the Rockies lineup tonight, brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Gerardo Parra will play first base for just the second time this season. Raimel Tapia gets a start in left field as Bud Black tries to cram as many left-hand hitters as possible into his lineup against Lugo, who has struggled against lefties so far this year.
And there's Seth out there on his mound going for his 4th win of the year, coming off a relief appearance before the All-Star game. Last outing was not a good one. He got roughed up by the Nationals. Sinker slider pitcher, and he needs defense. And speaking of defense, what a beautiful Nissan segue to the Met defense. Cespedes, Conforto, and Jay Bruce in the outfield. This is going to be, I think, pretty much your lineup. Rivera's just really hitting the ball great. Deserves a spot in that lineup every day. Jose, of course, we talked to him on the open. Moved to shortstop, and d'Arnaud behind the plate.
Charlie Blackmon will lead things off for the Rockies. Blackmon 2 for 4 last night. Leads the major leagues in base hits with 119. And Seth Lugo's first pitch of a gorgeous evening is in for a strike, and we're underway.
Yeah, a little bit better than last night. Yesterday had a lot of rain, misty
kind of night. Today is just gorgeous.
Humidity is down tonight as well. DJ LeMahieu on deck, then Nolan Arenado for the Rockies. Blackman pops one up into shallow left. Cespedes jogs in to get it. And that's the first out of the night. It was very encouraging to hear Yoenis Cespedes talk about his legs today and say that he is feeling as close to 100% as he has in a long time, and you could see it in his play last night.
Well, I think the All-Star break was very good for him. The 4 days off, the extra day. We used to have the 3 days off on our day, so need him healthy. I mean, I'm stating the obvious here. This is the key component to this Met offense.
So 1 out now. DJ LeMahieu 1 for 3 last night, last year's National League batting champion, and he takes the fastball off the plate for ball 1. LeMahieu hitting at .307. Blackman, LeMahieu, and Arenado 1, 2, 3 in the Rockies batting order. All 3 are in the top 6 in the National League in base hits, so they have got a lot of punch at the top of their order. And a call strike to LeMahieu, 1-1. But the Rockies have fallen on hard times of late. Their offense has struggled. Their pitching has taken a step back, and they've lost 14 of their last 19. Yet they still have a 6.5 game lead over the Pack for the second National League wildcard spot. And the curveball pulled down to third. TJ Rivera gets in front of it and throws out LeMahieu, 2 down. Seth Lugo has had trouble getting ahead of hitters over this last bunch of games.
Well, what did Tom Seaver always say was the most important pitch? Strike 1, get ahead of hitters. And what did we see last night, Gare? A lot of Colorado pitchers 0-2 and stringing the count out to 3-2. You just forfeit your advantage.
So Lugo has set down the first 2, and now Nolan Arenado steps in. Arenado came out of the game early last night after bruising his hip, making a turn at first base and falling down. And as we suspected last night, Bud Black said it was purely precautionary, taking him out mid-game with the Rockies far behind, and he's right back in the lineup tonight. And he bangs one up the middle for a base hit, and the Rockies have the first base runner of the night. So Arenado aboard with a 2-out single.
His 108th hit of the season. Fastball belt high right down the pipe. And a hitter like Arenado, you cannot make mistakes like that. He is tied for the lead in the National League with RBIs with Marcell Ozuna. What a year he's having, huh?
70 RBIs apiece. Well, here's the unlikely cleanup hitter, Gerardo Parra, who has just been red hot. He just came back from a month on the sidelines with a quad injury, and he's picked up where he left off when he got hurt. 9 for 17 in the 4 games since he's come back, and hitting a .339 for the year. And Parra takes below the knees ball 1. Parra played a couple of dozen games at first base last year for the Rockies. First time he'd ever done that in the majors, and getting his second start this year playing first base, with Mark Reynolds getting the night off. Ian Desmond might be back as soon as tomorrow for the Rockies. There had been some talk about him coming off the disabled list today, but they decided Desmond needed an extra day. Desmond, who can play first base, probably be activated tomorrow.
There's Bud Black, new manager, new skipper of the Colorado Rockies after a 1.5-year sabbatical for 7 years at San Diego.
1-1 to Parra, and a check swing foul. 1-2. One of the things that has characterized Lugo this year is that he's been having trouble with the left-hand hitters. Last year, left-hand hitters hit just 194 against him. This year, 324.
That's a alarming increase.
It's only his 6th start of the year, coming back from elbow issues. And Parra fouls away the fastball, dialed that one up to 95. The other piece for Lugo that has been different this year, there was a lot of talk last year about the spin rate on his curveball, and the curveball was an effective pitch for him. On balls put in play against his curve last year, hitters hit .235. This year they're hitting .385 when they put it in play against his curve. And you wonder whether the elbow issues have anything to do with that.
I wonder if it's the velocity. You lose a little bit of velocity on your breaking stuff. You lose the sharpness.
There's the curveball, slapped down to third. Rivera makes the adjustment, goes to first with it, and gets the out. to end the inning. He thought about going to second, but then made the accurate throw to get Parra to end the inning. So Lugo puts up a 0. Mets come to bat with no score. Land Rover retailer. Terry Collins will go with the exact same starting 8 as he used last night, and why not after the Mets banged out 14 runs and 19 hits. Tonight they go up against the veteran right-hander Tyler Chatwood.
Chatwood missed all of 2015 with Tommy John surgery. 3-0 career against the Mets in 5 starts. 38-41 lifetime. Been better pitcher on the road this year. He's 4-5 with a 3.19 earned run average. Over 6 earned run average at home. And we'll look at the Rocky defense, brought to you by Fios. Tapia, Raymel Tapia gets the start out in left field. He gives him a little more speed. Story back in the lineup, who's really been struggling, over 100 strikeouts at shortstop. And the new catcher, the left-hand hitting Tony Walters.
Michael Conforto will lead off. Conforto drove in 4 runs last night with a ground out and a 3-run homer. Reached base 4 times. Has his on-base percentage at .409, which is 6th best in the National League. And Chatwood's first pitch is outside, and the Mets are going to be very patient with Chatwood, who's been walking the world lately over his last 3 starts. 15 walks in 15 2/3 innings.
Already see right away he is got a sinker. He's got a very hurried and rushed motion, a lot of arm manipulation in his windup, a lot of quick starts and dashes.
He's a little guy with a big arm. Chatwood stands right about 6 feet tall, and when he first came up with the Angels, he immediately drew comparisons with Roy Oswalt, another small pitcher who threw hard, but he has struggled to stay healthy. Last year made a nice recovery after Tommy John surgery, had a good year. And that's a 4-pitch walk to Conforto to start his night, exactly what Bud Black did not want to see. And so Conforto on base now 5 times out of 7 in this series. Conforto, in fact, has the highest on base percentage out of the leadoff spot in the batting order of any player in the major leagues. 407 from the leadoff spot. Gene Segura of the Mariners is second at 390, and then George Springer of the Astros 384. So Conforto looking like a good fit in that leadoff spot, although Terry Collins was asked again today whether he intends to move him out of there. Here's Cabrera, and that's 5 straight balls from Chatwood to start his night, and Tony Walters, the catcher, will walk it out to him.
Oh boy, and that was the 5th pitch, and that was worse than all 4 combined. Bud Black, the former left-hand starter, former teammate of mine, my last year in Cleveland. What a terrific guy Bud is. I got to go down and say hello to him tomorrow.
Chatwood just trying to throw a strike.
Oh boy.
And that's 6 straight out of the strike zone. He was never a low walk guy, but he was always in the 3.5 walks per 9 innings. This year he's 4.8 and worse than that lately.
Oh my goodness.
7 pitches, 7 balls. And not even coming close.
Well, he was 12-9 last year in 158 innings and walked 70.
Right.
So that's pushing the borderline.
So
right
he was
there.
4.0 last year, but 4.8 now, and he had an 8-walk game against the Dodgers recently.
There you go.
There's his first strike.
Now
Even the Met fans giving him a little bit of a sarcastic applause there.
I think they saw enough walks last night from that Rocky bullpen late.
Rocky pitchers walked 7 last night. Cabrera takes it high, and that's back-to-back walks to start the bottom of the first. Well, you knew the Mets would try and wait him out based on his recent history, and that has proven beneficial already. And now here's Cespedes, whom the Mets needed to get off to a fast start coming out of the All-Star break, and he did just that last night with 4 hits. And a very early visit to the mound from Steve Foster, the Rockies pitching coach.
Steve Foster burnt a trail from that third base dugout to the mound last night. He made around 5 trips to the mound. Here he is already in the first inning. Nobody out.
All that great American music and a pitching coach to boot.
He's got a pitcher as a manager who's a control pitcher, big buddy.
So here is Cespedes. Raised his average to 280 with his 4 hits last night. His third 4-hit game of the year. First Met player to have 3 4-hit games in one season since David Wright did it 3 years ago.
Boy, you really put yourself on a rock on a hard spot right here.
2 on and nobody out. And the first pitch slider caught maybe the corner. 0-1. Young home plate umpire Chris Siegel working the plate tonight. Mike Everett, the crew chief, who had the plate last night, over at third. And Cespedes takes it low. A ball and a strike. Mets have never had much luck against Chatwood. He's made 5 starts against the Mets, 3 of them at Citi Field, and in his 3 starts here he's had an 0.53 ERA, including 1 start here last season. And now he's ahead on Cespedes, 1-2. Cespedes has a home run against Chatwood in 6 career at-bats. You see his numbers against the Mets overall. 2 starts at Coors Field and 3 starts here.
You got to wonder what's going through his mind right now. Here he is leading the league in walks, off to a bad start. Let's see what he does with his 1-2 count on Cespedes.
Jay Bruce waits on deck. Cespedes pops one up, shallow center field. Blackman comes in under, and that's the first out. So after the back-to-back walks, Chatwood gets himself an out, and now he'll face Jay Bruce with 2 men on.
We'll see how the Rockies will set up defensively against Jay, who's been, I think, a little bit of a pull mode right now, Garrett. He's been consistent, but what I saw towards the end of that final series in St. Louis, where he hit the home runs, he's been a little on that pull side. And you can see right there the defense up the middle at shortstop.
Jay was 1 for 5 last night, and Chatwood works him inside, but we've seen a lot of pitchers working him away with soft stuff lately.
Well, I think right now Chatwood's just hoping to get a ground ball and get the heck in the dugout unscathed.
And Bruce hits one in the air to center field. That's deep. Back goes Blackman to the warning track. Back at the wall. It's out of here. Jay Bruce dead central. 3-run homer, his 24th, and the Mets jump out to a 3-0 lead. No pull mode there. Just 130 feet straight away.
Love it on the ball in the outer half. You got a pitcher in trouble here. just can't be throwing fastball. No sink on that one stage straight. Blackman runs out of room. No chance. That was a bomb.
Nice play on the carom. Number 24 for Bruce, who started the night tied for 4th in the National League in home runs. So the Mets off to another fast start. First run of the game brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'.
Right down the middle. No overswing. Thank you very much.
And now Chatwood quickly behind the next hitter, T.J. Rivera, 2-0. Bruce was a savior for the Mets in the first half. And off to a good start here.
Boy.
And now Chatwood has already walked 2 in the inning behind Rivera, 3-0. T.J. hit a home run last night, his 5th of the year, and his 3rd during his current 9-game hitting streak. Rivera just keeps hitting, and you just can't get him out of the lineup. And now he takes a walk, which is a rarity for Rivera. The 3rd walk of the inning for Chatwood.
He goosed that one in there. He's getting a little Archie Bell.
He's going to get a look from the trainer, Bud Black, coming out to see if there's anything wrong with Chatwood. Remember, he's a year and a half removed from Tommy John surgery. So the pitching coach already made a visit to the mound, so the manager can't come out without the trainer, because otherwise he'd have to make a change. So now they're going to see if Chatwood's okay. He's faced 5 batters. He's walked 3 of them, and in between gave up a 3-run homer.
I'll tell the truth.
Chatwood has not pitched in 9 days. His last outing was against the Reds on the 6th of July. Pitched 6 innings that day. And there has certainly not been any intimations that there was anything wrong with him coming into this start.
A bit of a ploy here. We'll see.
I don't know. That's a really good question, Keith. But he is just, his command of his fastball is just way off. So he throws 2 warm-up pitches there and does not come close to the strike zone with either one. And I'm not sure what Bud is thinking right now. He throws a breaking ball, and it looks like they're going to make a change. Chatwood's coming out of the game. So whatever it is that Bud Black was concerned about, Chatwood did not allay his concerns throwing those 3 warm-up pitches. The Rockies were not getting anybody ready in the bullpen. So whoever comes in will get as long as he needs to prepare after Chatwood exits. He's limping slightly as he comes off. Don't know if that's an issue. Don't know if it's a leg or a back or an arm or what it is, but there is some injury or illness issue that is taking Tyler Chatwood out of this game after just a 1/3 of an inning. So Chatwood with the early exit. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. More science, less fear. We'll be right back to Citi Field. Scenes from 1986. You looked a little dazed there, Keith.
Well, I was near Gary. Remember, he clocked me that one time. I had to be careful.
I thought that was 88.
Oh, that's right.
Get those celebrations confused. There's the trophy, and there's the ring. You got to see your Cardinal ring the other day. That's a spiffy ring as well.
Very good. What do you think about today's rings? They're so gaudy.
They're a little much.
I like a little ours a lot better, but that's just me. Anyway, there's the flag, and let me tell you that 86 team was never flat like that flag is right now. Let me tell you.
Well, the new Colorado pitcher, Chris Russin, gets as long as he needs to warm up, with Tyler Chatwood leaving due to injury after just 5 batters and a third of an inning. And so Russin, who's had a really good year for the Rockies, will get the long relief duties tonight.
Well, he's been tough on both lefties and righties, as you can see, and got his inherited runners look terrific. This will be his 34th game.
Well, the Mets playing their first series of the year with the Rockies, who were in first place in the National League West as recently as 3 or so weeks ago. But they've lost 14 of the last 19 and have gone from first place to 10.5 games out. However, they are very much in command of the second wild card. The Dodgers have just been on an incredible roll. 27-4 in their last 31 games.
That is remarkable. A remarkable streak. And the Mets got caught in that buzzsaw earlier in the season. We got swept in Los Angeles.
And so did the Rockies. The Dodgers came from behind last night. They were down to their last strike in the 9th inning. And Yasiel Puig hit a 3-run homer off A.J. Ramos to turn that game around. And they won 6-4, going for their 8th straight win tonight. Chris Russin taking as long as he needs. It's always a tendency for a relief pitcher in these spots to not throw as many warm-up pitches as he needs because everybody's standing around and watching, but he's a veteran and trying to make sure he gets in all that he needs. The Diamondbacks have struggled recently as well. They've lost 6 of their last 7. And so the pack is coming back to those two teams a little bit, with the Cubs now 6.5 back, the Braves 7. The Mets are 9.5 back in that National League wild card race, very much on the fringes and really needing to sweep this series if they want to have any hope of finding their way back into it and convincing management to not sell off assets at the trading deadline, which is now just over 2 weeks away. And after winning 14-2 last night, off to a good start tonight.
It's always a one game at a time. You got the first one in your back pocket. Kind of go for the hammer here, off to an early start. But you're right, Gary. They do need a sweep because if you win 2 out of 3, you pick up a game. If you sweep, you pick up 3 games. That's a lot better.
That's good math right there.
Well, yes, I think even the kindergartners will figure it out at home.
So we're set to restart now as Chatwood leaves after just 19 pitches. Russin picks up from him. The 30-year-old lefty from the University of Kentucky will face Lucas Duda, who was 2 for 4 last night. T.J. Rivera at first and 1 out, and Lucas takes a strike. Now, you're a starting player like Lucas Duda. You have been gearing up all day to face Tyler Chatwood, a right-hand pitcher. Now, all of a sudden, your first at bat of the game, and you're facing a lefty. How does that alter your preparation for this at bat?
Here, I think of it in terms of being a Formula One race driver. You just downshift, shift gears. You got plenty of time to shift gears and make the adjustment. How many times in the course of a game does a starter get knocked out in the first inning? Now, I hit third. I'd be part of that. But the guys in the bottom of the order, I bet you it happen a lot. You know, more than their share.
A couple of times a year, anyway.
Right. It just shifts gears. You know, you face this guy. You know what he's got. I don't think it has any effect.
I mean, you're used to doing that later in games as you adjust to relief pitchers.
Right.
I'm just thinking first at bat of the game. It's got to do something to your mindset.
Gary, in this game, you got to think on your feet.
Up here too, Keith. Russin ahead of his first hitter, 0-2. And Duda strikes out on the breaking ball. And that's the second out of the inning.
Boy, Lucas has just had a hard time of it against left-handers. 190 with 3 home runs against lefties this year.
So 2 out, and now the former Rocky, Jose Reyes, who had a big night last night. 3 hits, a double. He drove in a run. And he takes a fastball for a strike.
Well, Jose didn't exactly endear himself with the Colorado Rockies and the Colorado Rocky fan base. He was unhappy in Colorado and pretty much vocally expressed it.
And they let him go after his suspension 2 winters ago, and the Mets picked him up, and the Mets are paying the minimum salary, and the Rockies are paying the rest of his big contract through this season. Takes one to right field. That's going to fall for a base hit. Rivera pulls in at second, and so a 2-strike hit by Reyes keeps the inning going.
When you're hot, you're hot. Everything finds a hole. And you ride that horse as long as that horse will stay on its feet. And that's the big difference in today's game. You know, I was told that when you're in a hot streak, you only get so many. Your streak can only last so long. Don't waste those swings with too much hitting and BP. Extra hitting. You don't need it. Today, these players, they hit.
There's Travis d'Arnaud with 2 out and 2 on. Well, it's quite a contrast from Tyler Chatwood, who threw 19 pitches, only 5 strikes. Russin has come in. He's thrown 6 pitches, all for strikes.
It's nice to see.
d'Arnaud 1 for 4 last night. And Russin misses away with a fastball. 1-1.
Russin's not an overpowering pitcher, but he's a left-hander with a little funky motion, and they can keep hitters off stride. You're a left-hander and you got the dip-de-doo. You can stay in this game a long time. He's got a very, very unorthodox motion. Look at the cup of the hand. No drive at all off the mound, so he's not going to be throw it through a brick wall or through a pane of glass.
Yeah, you don't see too many pitchers use their legs less than this guy. d'Arnaud laces one up the middle for a base hit. Rivera being waved around third. Here comes the throw by Blackman to the plate. Not in time. Travis d'Arnaud chips in with an RBI single, and it's 4-0 New York. So both Reyes and d'Arnaud converting behind in the count.
Just not a good pitch right there. There's a slider right down the pipe, and that closes the book on Chatwood. That's all 4 runs if we charge to him. Not a good throw from Blackman in center field at all. Ball tailed. 2 outs. You break on contact.
Now Seth Lugo gets a first-inning turn at bat. Reyes trying to steal third, and he makes it safely. Career stolen base number 499 for Jose Reyes, who had gone 23 straight games without a steal and now is just 1 away from 500. Not a recommended place to be stealing with 2 on the pitcher up.
No, it's just you're already in scoring position. I mean, okay, fine, a pass ball, a wild pitch, an error.
d'Arnaud did not follow. First and third for Lugo, and he hits on the ground. Story bobbles it, flips, and just in time to get d'Arnaud for the force play to retire the side. That almost cost the Rockies another run. Story normally sure-handed it short, but able to convert. Mets put up a 4th spot in the first. Jay Bruce unloads a 3-run homer, and the Mets have a 4-0 lead as we go to the second. Citi Field. Mets put up a 14-2 victory last night and off to a fast start tonight, up 4-0 as Seth Lugo goes back to the mound for the second inning. Big crowd gathering on a fireworks night at Citi Field on a gorgeous evening. Lugo, who made the last out, just now completing his warm-up pitches. Met fans of every stripe here, enjoying the comfortable surroundings.
On a beautiful night, summer garb, a lot of blue and orange. Why not? Well, Bud Black has got to be a little bit concerned about his ball club. Long way to go. This is a club that can hit.
Well, he had his starter last night, John Gray, chased after 2 innings plus. His starter tonight, Tyler Chatwood, leaves because of apparent injury after just a third of an inning. So that's going to put a lot of pressure on his bullpen right out of the gate here in the second half. Raimel Tapia leads off, and the rookie left fielder takes a strike. Tapia has played well in limited duty, 97 at bats. He's hitting .320 after hitting .359 in AAA this year. 23rd game he's started. The Rockies are going to have an outfield glut before too long. They've got the All-Star Blackman in center. They've got the former All-Star Carlos Gonzalez in right, and they've kind of pasted things together in left in the absence of David Dahl, who may be their best young hitter. Dahl's been out all year with a stress fracture in his ribs, but has started a rehab assignment and should be back shortly. And with Gerardo Parra playing so well, that's going to create a lot of outfielders for a limited number of spots, much as the Mets have been dealing with. The guy on deck, Carlos Gonzalez, has struggled so mightily, you have to wonder whether his position might be in jeopardy. He did not look good last night.
He did not.
Tapia fouls it back, and it's 3-2. So it's a Rockies team that got off to a great start. Really, probably, I think you'd have to say, played a little over their heads the first half of the year, but they built up enough equity in the standings that they still have themselves a nice cushion for that second wild card spot. But they've got to solve some issues forthwith. Popped up in foul ground, and that'll go out of play. Still 3-2.
Well, they've got a good backside of their bullpen, and Holland has just been phenomenal. And they've got some guys that can hand it off to him, but the front end of that bullpen is suspect. So they need that kind of performance they got from their young starters in the second half.
Well, that is the huge question mark surrounding this team. 3-2 coming to Tapia, and he struck him out with a high fastball. First strikeout of the night for Lugo. 1 out in the second. I mean, the Rockies for much of this year have had 4 rookies in their starting rotation. In fact, they became the first team ever to have 4 pitchers win 5 or more games, 4 rookie pitchers win 5 or more games before the All-Star break. The question is, how many innings can those guys work? I mean, they just had one of their young pitchers, Kyle Freeland, take a no-hitter into the 9th inning the last day before the All-Star break, but now they're going to move him to the bullpen for a turn to try and cut down at his innings. Here's Cargo, and he takes the curveball down for ball 1.
A big shift for Carlos Gonzalez, and the home run can be seductive, and playing at Coors Field, this young man had a swing I felt was closest I've ever seen to Billy Williams, or the Cubs Hall of Famer. And I just think he started over the years getting in some bad habits, getting a little longer swing, trying to pull too much. And I really thought, I think it's kind of caught up with him, and maybe a wake-up call for him to get back to where he was.
Slowly hit into the shift. Cabrera comes in to get it. That's a 4-3 put out for the second out. And pretty much all of Cargo's at bats have looked the same so far in this series.
He's, you know, you don't know what's going on in his head, but I guarantee at this point of the season, and you're hitting .218, don't think you haven't lost some confidence.
Well, he had some shoulder issues of put him on the DL right before the All-Star break. Don't know how much that factors in. But it's going to be very interesting to see how the Rockies, who are in a race, handle a guy who used to be their best player as they come down the stretch. Here's Trevor Story. Story sat last night. Pat Valaika played shortstop for the Rockies. Story, like Gonzalez, has struggled this year in his second big league season, hitting just .222. Remember, he got off to such the fast start last year. 6 home runs in the first 4 games of his career. His season ended here at Citi Field last year when he tore a thumb ligament sliding into second base and was out for the rest of the season. Missed the last 2 months. But 27 home runs in just 97 games last year. And a different story this year. 0-2 from Lugo. Struck him out. High fastball. And Lugo has an impressive 1-2-3 second inning after getting the lead. Rockies go 1-2-3 with a couple of strikeouts. 4-0 Mets in the second. And so they'll start from the top of the batting order again in the second against the relief pitcher Chris Russin, who came in after Tyler Chatwood exited because of injury after just a third of an inning. Conforto drew a 4-pitch walk to start the Mets night, and now facing the lefty. He takes inside for ball 1.
Well, I railed last night and late in the game. Actually, the whole Rockies pitching staff 0-2, going to 3-2 counts. There's Lugo. 0-2 on Story and goes right upstairs after him with a fastball. 0-2 is your advantage. Go after the hitters. Put them away. Well done.
Hammered foul, 1-2 to Conforto. I was just thinking how difficult it is as a general manager of any team to know how to construct your roster going into a season. I mean, there's certain things that you think are going to be givens when the year begins, and then sometimes they turn out not to be givens. And I'm thinking about the Rockies and what we've seen so far from 2 guys who were supposed to be 2 of their better players, from Carlos Gonzalez and Trevor Story. I mean, Gonzalez has been a star player for a long time. Story looked, based on what he did last year, like he was going to be a solid piece in that lineup for years to come, and neither one has produced this year. And it just reminds you that no matter what the PECOTA projections or what a guy's done the year before, there's no way of knowing for sure what you're going to get from any particular player in any particular year, and it makes that job that much more difficult as a consequence.
And on the other side of the coin, Conforto, who's up right now, was really designated for AAA.
Right.
And things fell his way. He got his chance to not only make the team but play. He's having a heck of a year.
But that's a great point, because when you have players who do not produce at the levels that you expect, it creates opportunities for others. Conforto strikes out for the first out. Second strikeout for Russin.
I don't know, dude. Correct me if I'm wrong. It just seems like when I was a kid growing up, you always knew that you were going to get from Mays, McCovey, Tom Haller, Jimmy Davenport. You could pretty much bank on the veteran players, and I don't see that consistency. A lot of it, there is a lot of players that are very consistent. A lot of it has to do with the teams. There's more teams, but I don't see that you can't put all your chips, all your eggs in one basket in today's game.
I think you definitely have to have more of a backup plan now, and I think part of it is because players spend more time on the disabled list than they ever have, and you don't have as many guys playing 145, 150 games over the course of a year, and that goes, of course, for the pitching as well. And just look at the Mets. Their game plan this year was to ride the backs of 5 dominating starting pitchers. And they felt they had a couple of guys in Gazelman and Lugo who were in the wings to be numbers 6 and 7.
Right.
And that's proven to be not nearly enough because stuff happens.
Well, and also, too, and stories in this category is there's been a lot of rookies that have a good rookie year. And there's always, I believe, I said last night that there is a sophomore jinx. That I do believe in a sophomore jinx. And there's a lot of guys that have good rookie years for the history of the game. That just after that rookie sensational year, it's not there anymore.
Well, we saw Conforto take a big step back last year before rebounding this year. Cabrera hits one slowly foul. Cabrera walked and scored in the first inning. Cespedes on deck. That's with another big first inning. They've had more than their share this year. It's the 7th time this year the Mets have scored 3 or more runs in the first inning. 4th spot tonight. Change up off the plate, 2-2 to Cabrera. Jay Bruce with the 3-run bomb to get the Mets out in front. Mets have already beaten the Rockies as many times this year as they did all of last year. Last year the Rockies beat the Mets 6 of 7. Right at Story, and he handles this one cleanly, 2 out.
A little soft toss and left-hander keeping the Mets off balance.
It'll be interesting to see how far Bud Black goes with Russin as his long man. He's been a multiple inning guy this year, but don't know how many multiple innings he's got in him tonight. 3 1/3 has been his longest outing this season. Now Cespedes with 2 out and nobody on. Flat out to center field his first time up. Yoenis, during his pregame chat with reporters tonight, said that last night he took off the I guess a sleeve that he had been wearing on his upper leg since the hamstring injury, and was able to run free and easy without it. So it looks as though he is in as good position as far as his legs are concerned right now as he has been since the beginning of the year.
75 games left. It's a lot of baseball. And so we know what Cespedes can do as far as carrying a ball club.
Last night we saw him leg a double on a bloop down the right field line. He laces that one to the left for a base hit. His 5th hit in 8 at bats in this series. We saw him beat out an infield hit last night. We saw him go back on the ball in left field. We saw him throw out a runner at the plate from left field. All the things that he is capable of doing.
Well, he also, you mentioned it earlier, that little dork double he had down the right field line. He made that turn around first base, and he put that thing in overdrive.
You know, they are able to measure players' top speed now between bases, and according to the StatCast numbers last night, he ran faster between the bases than he had at any time this year at his max effort speed.
It's like these baseball players are being critiqued in every aspect. No stone left unturned.
I mean, it's something you can see with the naked eye. We saw last night how well he ran, and it just the numbers just confirmed that. Here's Bruce, who hit one into the black in center field for a 3-run homer his first time up tonight. 24 home runs, 62 RBIs now for Bruce.
What a year. Jay's always antsy in that batter's box.
Fouls this one away. Jay's career high in home runs was 34. He did that in Cincinnati in 2012. Now at 24 in the middle of July, he certainly has every chance to blow that number away. And picking a good year to do it. He's a free agent at the end of the season. One-two from Russin. That's pulled down the line. Oh, foul. There's not a hole in the glove, I promise.
He's angry at himself for not making that play.
You see the career highs for Bruce, including that 34 home run mark. Bruce gets a piece of the cutter and fouls it off.
Interesting. I just noticed that Jay Bruce is choking up here. I don't know if he did it the entire at bat or just with 2 strikes. We'll keep an eye on that.
I noticed that in St. Louis, Keith. I don't know if he's been doing it all year, but he certainly has been doing it some recently.
Yes, he's choking up around an inch.
Cespedes at first and 2 out. Fastball in tight, 2-2. Bruce 3 for 13 in his career against Russin, who began his career with the Cubs. 7th pitch of this at bat coming up. Well, it's outside, full count. Russin retired the first 2 hitters here in the second, but Cespedes with a ringing base hit, and now a full count to Bruce, and Cespedes will be on his way. First baseman Parra will play behind him. And they'll do it again. Good to see Brandon Nimmo. Suffered a partially collapsed lung when the Mets were in St. Louis. He was cleared to take batting practice today. Still isn't able to run, but that should be forthcoming pretty soon. Have to do a couple more tests just to make sure that lung is back to normal. 9th pitch coming to Bruce. And he hits that one into the shift. LeMahieu to his right. And a low throw, and it gets by Parra. Cespedes goes to third. He takes the turn, thinks about it, and will hold at third base. Now the former Gold Glover LeMahieu making a rather nonchalant throw, and Parra, an inexperienced first baseman, unable to bail him out.
But still not a good play by LeMahieu. And you know what caused all this was the hustle of Bruce down the line. He hustled down the line and I think forced LeMahieu to throw on the run there a little bit. Always keep your eye on the ball. Cespedes knows what he's doing. Makes the hard turn.
Error all the way on LeMahieu, keeping the inning alive and putting runners at the corners with 2 out.
Well, the Rockies have just looked awful.
Well, this is a team that was stumbling around before the All-Star break, and these first 2 games since the break have provided no respite for them. Ineffective starting pitching. Offense has kind of been in chill mode, and now defensive mistakes as well. So here's Rivera trying to cash in. And TJ takes the fastball inside. Who's Hot brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And TJ has certainly been hot, hitting .441 during this 9-game hitting streak. Good changeup by Russin, and it's 1-1. That was Russin's 39th pitch, which matches the most he's thrown in any game this year. Nobody up at the moment in the Colorado bullpen. Russin coming on in long relief in the first inning after Tyler Chatwood left because of apparent injury. Cespedes at third, Bruce at first with 2 out. And Rivera watches the changeup in the dirt. 2-1.
I think of all the years, Gary, that Terry Collins has managed this Met ball club, of all the years, this year he's really played the hot hand a lot more with his players. Wilmer has basically, I think, lost his job to Rivera at this point.
Which went the other way earlier in the season.
Yep.
That's lined into left field, a base hit for Rivera, and that'll bring in Cespedes with an unearned run. TJ Rivera stays red hot. He's got a 10-game hitting streak, and the Mets have a 5-0 lead.
Well, TJ, not a lot of power, but a line drive hitter, stays within himself, and he can hit with the men on base. You go, TJ.
So TJ now 3 for 6 in this series with 4 RBIs. And the Mets, who did a lot of tacking on last night, tack on a run here in the second, an inning that began with 2 out and nobody on. But a single, an error, and now a run scoring hit by Rivera. And here's Duda. Duda was the first man that Russin faced when he came in. He struck him out on a cutter. That's already 3 for 5 with runners in scoring position tonight. Duda just barely missed getting hit. It's an area where Duda has struggled this year, hitting just .216 with runners in scoring position. Story playing right behind the bag at second, so Bruce can't get too far away.
Duda pulls one over the bag. That's a fair ball, and that'll go all the way down into the corner. Bruce scores. Rivera being waved around third. He will score. It's a 2-run double for Lucas Duda. 7-0 New York. Now the error by LeMahieu cost the Rockies dearly. The Mets have cashed 3 unearned runs, and they're now up 7.
Hanging slider right there. Nothing on it. Right down the line, and you've compromised your defense, although I don't think very many first basemen are going to make that play. That's a shot right down the right field line.
Yeah, Power reacted pretty well to that, but just hit too hard. So now Reyes, who singled and stole a base in the first inning. And he takes the changeup down for ball 1. Reyes' stolen base was his 499th. When he gets to 500, he'll be the 39th player in Major League history to reach the 500 stolen base plateau. Lofts this one to left center. Coming on is Tapia, and that ends the inning. But the Mets cash 3 unearned runs after the LeMahieu error. After 2, Mets 7, Rockies nothing. The Mets and Marvel Entertainment present Noah Syndergaard as Thor bobblehead night, courtesy of Delta Airlines. Saturday night, July 22nd, when the Mets play the A's. The first 15,000 fans will receive a limited edition collectible. Get tickets at Mets.com/tickets. Beautiful sunset.
Always.
Impending. Mets already with 7 runs on the board before sunset. Tony Walters leads off the 3rd inning and takes a changeup for a strike. Walters, who has established himself as the #1 catcher for the Rockies, hitting .267 for the year. And he flies one to shallow center. Conforto comes in a few steps. 1 out. Round the Majors brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Madison Bumgarner comes back from the DL tonight for the Giants, the day that they put Johnny Cueto on the disabled list because he has blisters on 3 different fingers.
Oh, blisters.
But the ball isn't changed. Giants have had everything go wrong for them. Bumgarner's dirt bike accident was the worst of it, as they sit on the bottom of the National League West. Not the worst record in the National League. That belongs to the Phillies. Here's the pitcher, Russin, who will take the turn at bat and is going to go deeper into this game. He's already thrown more pitches tonight than in any game this year, but he has started in the past. In fact, he started 7 games last year for the Rockies.
I think
they're going to push him a little harder tonight.
Day game tomorrow. Don't want to bury your bullpen.
The other piece is that Russin can hit. He's 3 for 6 at the plate this year and 191 lifetime. And slashes one foul, and it's 1-2. Tonight's high-speed pitch brought to you by Optimum. Seth Lugo dials it up to 95. He's interesting because he'll sit at 91 with his fastball, and then every once in a while he'll pop that 95, 96.
It's called pitching, Gary.
Yeah, but you just don't see that very much anymore.
I agreed. You throw that sinker and you throw it around 92, and then when you want to come inside to keep a hitter honest or go for the strikeout, you put a little 2 or 3 extra miles on it.
I like the way you said that, by the way. It's pitching. Reminded me of John Lovitz. Act Ding.
Yes.
Well, Seth Lugo, the beneficiary of another Mets offensive explosion these first 2 innings. Runs a full count on Russin. Only 1 base runner so far for the Rockies. A 2-out single by Nolan Arenado in the first. And Lugo has run with it from there. Charlie Blackmon waiting on deck. 3-2 coming to the opposing pitcher. And Russin strikes out on the sinker away.
He took a little off that too. Got a little more movement.
See, that's the thing. That pitch was 90 with movement. And then we see him go 95 upstairs. He's got an idea. Although the results have not been great so far this year for Seth.
You can see it fade away, run away from the hitter, a little sink. Good pitch.
Was that your flight?
No, but that was upstairs. That was the high hard one.
There's Blackmon, who flied out his first time, and he takes the curveball for a strike. Blackmon started the night with a 9-game hitting streak. And he pops this one up. Reyes waiting for it. Side retired. 7 on the row set down by Lugo. He's got himself a 1-2-3 third, and the Mets have themselves a 7-0 lead. Opportunity sales event. Here's the good news health report. Neil Walker is running a little bit more. Might start playing in some games this coming week. Jerry's Familia is throwing. He's not too far away from getting into games. Brandon Nimmo took batting practice today.
You mean rehab games, correct?
Yes.
Then there's a guy that hasn't been throwing.
Not yet. He and Matt Harvey still are ramping up toward picking up a baseball and throwing it. Travis d'Arnaud leads off for the Mets in the third against Chris Russin, who's worked an inning and 2/3 in relief. d'Arnaud had a run-scoring single against Russin in the first. Mets scored 4 in the first, 3 in the second to jump well out in front for the second straight night. Grounded down to third. Arenado backs off, and the perennial Gold Glover throws him out, 1 away.
See, when you have a strong arm like that Arenado has, you can really, you take your time and really get set to make that strong throw. Makes up for a lot of things, having a big arm on that third base corner.
Won a Gold Glove his rookie year. Has won his Gold Glove every year since. This is his 5th big league season. Here's Lugo up for the second time, and he rockets one toward the gap in left center field, headed back toward the wall. It's out of here! Seth Lugo with his first major league home run. In his 27th career at bat, Lugo goes deep for the first time, and it got out of here in a second and a half.
You know, I was just going to say in his first at bat when he hit in that fielder's choice, he's getting the snub treatment.
Silent treatment all the way. He handles it nicely. Second home run for a Mets pitcher this year. Jacob deGrom went deep earlier this year.
He is definitely a threat with the bat.
When does the silent treatment end?
Is he not liked?
No, he's really liked. And now you see. I remember when Bart hit the home run last year in San Diego, everybody went up the tunnel.
Right.
Here they just ignored Lugo.
Which I think is much more effective. Boy, the Mets got pitchers that can swing the bat.
Well, this is the rare Met pitcher who swings the bat from the same side that he throws it. Right-hand pitcher, right-hand batter, and he smacked that one. 8-0 New York now.
Relentless attack here. Dude, that's a nice swing. Look at that. What the heck is wrong with that swing?
Nice smile, too. Conforto gets leaned back, 2-2. So the Mets have hit 2 home runs tonight. Bruce hit the 3-run homer to open the scoring, and now Lugo adds a little icing on the cake. Conforto tonight has walked and struck out 0 for 1. And he goes down swinging for the second time against the lefty. 2 out in the inning.
Oh, the old sinker.
So 2 out now as Dribble Cabrera, who has walked and grounded out 0 for 1. As Dribble drove in 3 runs last night. So the Mets are hitting in their 11th inning in this series because they didn't come to bat in the 9th last night. 22 runs and 26 hits in these 11 innings.
There you go. The phantom high fives.
Look at Bruce looking away and Rene Rivera looking away and Travis looking down and putting on his shin guards and Dan Warthen looking out toward the field. That's great stuff. Story behind the bag, the spinorama, and a nice play to get Cabrera side retired. Trevor Story with a beautiful play, and that gets Russin through the inning. Full turn, accurate throw. But Lugo homered, and it's 8-0 Mets after 3. Brought to you by the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event, now through September 5th.
Nice view of the scoreboard there.
DJ LeMahieu leads off for the Rockies in the 4th inning. LeMahieu's error opened the door on 3 unearned runs for the Mets in the 2nd. He grounded out in his only at bat. LeMahieu, then Nolan Arenado and Gerardo Parra as the Rockies worked their 2nd time through the order against Seth Lugo, as allowed just 1 base runner through the first 3 innings. LeMahieu bangs one up the middle for a base hit. Conforto over to play it, and LeMahieu has the Rockies' 2nd hit.
Wanted to be a cutter, and it didn't cut very much. Stayed down, went down the outer half. Keep that shoulder in. It's a nice pitch to hit.
Now it's Nolan Arenado who had the first Colorado hit. And he takes the curveball for a strike. It was Arenado's first regular season official at bat against Seth Lugo. However, not the first time they faced each other this year. In the finals of the World Baseball Classic, Seth Lugo got the start for Team Puerto Rico against Team USA and struck out Arenado twice in that game. Lugo went 4 innings in that championship game, won by the U.S. And the curveball sits up and in, 2-1.
This is his first base hit right here. Fastball right down the middle. Doesn't try to do too much. Look at the stride in, the shoulder tucked. That's driving towards the pitcher.
National League home run champ each of the last 2 years, and looks bad on the curveball. Lugo going with 3 curveballs in a 4-pitch span against Arenado.
Got him to chase. Big sweeping breaking ball. Lugo, of course, with that tremendous, was it spin? What's it called?
Spin rate.
Thank you.
Revolutions per minute.
I get forgetful. There's so much today.
Ground ball to short, should be 2. Reyes to Cabrera and on to first, double play. 2-man down. 6-4-3.
Took something off that. Lugo got him out in front off the end of the bat. And I don't know if Arenado's hip is bothering him a little bit, but he didn't really bust down that line. But that's a pitcher's best friend.
13th double play Arenado is grounded into this year, up among the league leaders. So 2 out and nobody on now. Gerardo Parra, who grounded out to third base his first time up. And the curveball bends in for a strike.
There's Arenado in that double play, and not really, you can't call that 100% effort. I just don't know if his hip's bothering him or not.
I mean, he wasn't grimacing.
Nope.
Arenado's one of those guys who is hard to get out of the lineup. Played more games than any other player in the National League over the last 3 seasons. And this is a classic example, right? They pulled him a little bit early last night in a lopsided game because he had banged his hip on that fall around first base. Yet he's right back in the lineup tonight. Oh, 2 from Lugo, and Parra wastes it away. This is what happened yesterday.
On a wild throw here from DeGrom. He slipped on that wet turf. It rained all afternoon. And he lost his footing and fell on that hip.
Next man up in the Rockies bullpen, that's Kyle Freeland. Last time he went to the mound, he took a no-hitter into the ninth, but as we mentioned, they've moved him to the pen now to try and save some innings, which they'll do with all these young Rockies starters.
Well, they'll need it tonight. Down 8-0 here in the top of the 4th inning.
Well, Anthony Senzatella, they moved to the bullpen for a couple of turns. Then they sent him to the minors for a start. He's going to come back and pitch on Tuesday. Go back into the rotation. Freeland, they're giving him a respite in the bullpen. The other young starters, Jeff Hoffman, who pitches against the Mets tomorrow. There's a topper back to Lugo, and he makes the play on Parra, side retired. Another strong inning for Seth Lugo. It's the sharpest he's looked all year. He got himself a big lead in the 4th. Ram. 8-0 Mets as we go to the bottom of the 4th. Here's your upcoming schedule. Go to pix11.com/team travel for great deals on Mets away games from cheapoair.com. One more game to go in this series tomorrow afternoon on SNY. Then a 4-game set with the Cardinals and 3 with the Oakland Athletics to close out this 10-game homestand. Then the Mets have a long trip coming up to San Diego, Seattle, and Colorado that will take them into the first week in August. Well, the new Colorado pitcher will be making his first career relief appearance. Kyle Freeland has started 18 games, and he's been really good.
Well, his last start, he took a no-hitter into the 9th inning against the White Sox and lost it there. A little more hits than innings pitched. Those are things as a hitter you look for. Also the walks.
Freeland was born to be a Rocky. He was born and raised in Denver. Cespedes takes low and away for ball 1.
The University of Evansville.
Purple Ace is a first-round pick, 8th overall pick by the Rockies in 2014. Had not thrown a pitch in the big leagues before this year, but he has been really special. I mean, if you pitch for the Colorado Rockies, make 18 starts, and have an ERA under 4 as a rookie, you've made an instant impression. Cespedes pops one up, and LeMahieu tracking it. 2 hands, 1 out. Freeland's last start against the White Sox on Sunday, they pushed him. They allowed him to make a bid for a no-hitter took a no-hit bid to 1 out in the 9th inning through 126 pitches, and in part because of all those pitches, they decided to shuffle him to the bullpen, at least for one turn. Here's Jay Bruce, who opened the scoring tonight with a 3-run homer, his 24th of the year.
So Jay not choking up now. Okay, so he's probably using the choke up with 2 strikes. So his hand down almost. Let's see if he goes on the knob. Nope. Just right down to the knob.
We'll see if he gets 2 strikes, whether he shortens up then. And Freeland throws a cutter out of the strike zone and gets a swinging strike. 0-2. Kyle Freeland, 24 years old. There, choking up with 2 strikes.
Yep. I like it.
Got him looking. 94 on the black. First strikeout for Freeland. 2 out in the inning.
Good paint right there. A lot of times that fastball away with 2 strikes is more effective than a slider. Why? Because it gets there faster. The fastball is going to get there quicker than the breaking ball. I don't care how hard a breaking ball you got. And if you've got that breaking ball in the back of your head, you're not going to catch up to it and you get fooled.
Well, here's TJ Rivera. He's walked, he's singled, he's driven in a run, he's scored 2 runs. Now has a 10-game hitting streak. He fouls that fastball straight down. So Freeland had never pitched in relief in the big leagues before. His average fastball velocity as a starter this year was a little under 92, but here he is throwing 93 and 94 out of the bullpen. Probably not surprising.
Well, he should be fresh, Gare, huh? He's had normal 5 days rest.
Well, I just looked back at his minor league career. He had never made a relief appearance in the minors. So this is the first time in his professional career, going back to 2014 when he was drafted, that he has ever come out of the bullpen. Got that little hesitation and throws a fastball by TJ. 1-2. Listed at 6'3", just 170 pounds. Looks like maybe he's put on a little weight since then. But you know, you get a kid who was born in Denver and grew up throwing in the thin air and dealing with its consequences.
That's true.
Got to give you something of a leg up.
That's a good point, yeah. I mean, you are adapted to the environment, that's for sure.
Well, in terms of the oxygen deficit, that's part of it. You know, it's a great story in Sports Illustrated this week about the Rockies and their pitching and all the struggles they've had over their 25-year history to pitch well. And one of the things they did mention was the cumulative toll that it takes, you know, being out there and throwing 100 pitches or however many you throw with the oxygen deficit.
I also
doing that start after start.
I also think that he's used to, we always talk about the breaking ball, the light air, not biting. Well, he's grew up throwing his breaking ball in that light air.
Right. And that's outside ball 4, and TJ draws a walk. He's on base for the 3rd straight time. TJ had only walked 7 times all season before tonight. Second time he's walked in this game. So now Lucas Duda. Lucas doubled down the right field line to drive in 2 runs in the second.
That was the runs that broke open the game. The 6th and 7th run. Nice 2-out double.
Another at bat against the left-hander. He got that double against Chris Russin. Russin went 2 2/3 in relief. Allowed 4 runs, only 1 earned, 6 hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts. He gave up the Lugo home run. Duda fouls it off. I think we mentioned this, the game that DeGrom hit the home run last month. The Mets are in prime position tonight because the last 17 times a Met pitcher has homered in a game, the Mets have won the game.
The following day.
No, the game in which the pitcher hit the home run. They've won 17 straight times when they've had a pitcher hit a home run. The last time they lost was 1996. It was against the Rockies. Jason Isringhausen homered. That's when he was a young starter for the Mets, and the Rockies won the game. So over the next 2 decades, every time a Met pitcher has homered, they've won. And they're in pretty good position, you have to think, because they're up, 8-0.
I would think 2 more goose eggs from Lugo and take it into that 7th inning with an 8-run lead. I feel pretty confident. There's your 10-game winner right there.
And he has 12 hits already this year. He's going to try and break Doc's record. 21 hits, most of the season by a Met pitcher. I mean, he was a good hitter when he came up. Remember, he snapped. Remember the year he came up in 2014? Met pitchers had gone, I think it was 0 for 63 to start the season.
Yes.
And he came up and got the first hit. I mean, he was a good hitter when he came up. I think he's a better hitter now.
He's getting used to the pitching.
Grounded into the shift. LeMahieu comes in to get it and throws out Duda. That retires the side. A walk in 1 left against Kyle Freeland in the 4th. 8-0 New York. Customizable experience with the MLB.com at Bat app. Get New York Mets home screen icons and app features, as well as game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcasts, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat today. 5th inning, 8-0 New York. Raimel Tapia leads off against Seth Lugo. It would appear as though that relief outing that Lugo had last Sunday in St. Louis might have been just the thing to get him going. He pitched 3 effective innings that day in what turned out to be a Mets loss. Good changeup to start off Tapia, but he had struggled so mightily his last couple of starts, particularly that game in Washington. Maybe that was just the thing to get him pointed in the right direction.
Oh, I think 8 runs in the first 3 innings helps too.
Yeah. And hitting a home run.
Yes,
he was part of that.
That will definitely let you breathe a little bit easier.
Tapia struck out his first time up. And he fouls away the slider. 0-2. Well, one thing Lugo has done is attacked the hitters and had quick innings. He has not thrown more than 13 pitches in any inning so far tonight. And quickly ahead on his first hitter in this inning, 0-2. Carlos Gonzalez on deck, then Trevor Story for the Rockies in the 5th. See the news today that Joe Ross of the Nationals is going to have to undergo Tommy John surgery?
I did see that.
That certainly is an impediment for the Nats in terms of the back of their rotation. Curveball fouled off. I mean, the front of their rotation with Scherzer, Strasburg, and Gonzalez has been so good.
Well, the big plus there is Gonzalez is having a great year. You expect Scherzer and Strasburg to be, you know, upper echelon, but the last couple of years, Gio has not been grand, and he's just having a fabulous season.
Took a shutout into the 9th last night. They've got Scherzer going tonight and lead Cincinnati.
You've got a good 1, 2, 3 starters on your rotation. I guarantee you, you're going to be a winning ball club.
Well, and they've got, you know, a nice comfortable cushion, 9.5 games up. As Tapia pops one up. TJ Rivera battling the wind. 1 out. Well, we mentioned early in the game that the last 3 outings, Lugo was not getting ahead of hitters. Well, it's changed tonight. 11 out of 14.
That'll work.
So big step in the right direction.
And a big shift again as Rivera moves out into shallow right field.
Gonzalez hit a slow ground ball to the right side his first time up. Fouls back the fastball, 0-1. Anyway, I was going to say, you know, losing your 5th starter, if you get to October, not a big deal, right? You're only going to go with 3 or 4 anyway.
Right.
But for the time being, it's going to certainly put a crimp. Now, you know, the Nationals clearly are in the market and have been for a long time now for some bullpen help. But I wonder whether they'll fill that 5th starter's job from within or whether they'll look for help there as well.
Well, they got the second half of the season, and they need Tanner Roark to bounce back.
Right.
I mean, that's a mystery right there. I love his stuff.
That's the thing. If they get him going as the 4th guy, then the 5th guy doesn't matter.
Then they're fine.
And especially with that big lead.
He's a guy that's won 15 games twice, and it's just a complete mystery. He's really had his problems.
One-two from Lugo, and Cargo strikes out. 4th strikeout of the night for Lugo. 2 men down in the 5th.
Boy, Gonzalez just looks lost. They wanted to come up and in, and came up and away. And he's just not showing a lot of energy. He's still just now getting into that dugout. And you're a veteran player. When times are hard, the young players are looking at you to see how you react, and you've got to rise above that.
Storylines one to the left for a base hit. Cespedes chases it down. Story's going to try for 2. Here comes the throw by Cespedes, and Story slides in safely. We're down by 8 runs. You better make it.
Well, he got it. Even a perfect throw wouldn't have got him. Story can fly. He made a hard turn. And Cespedes, of course, just a plant and throw. He can run, and he makes a nice cut right here.
His 12th double of the year. And now the number 8 hitter, Tony Walters. That's just the 3rd hit against Lugo tonight. Walters flied to center his first time up. Rockies got really lucky with Tony Walters. He was in the Indians farm system, and they put him on waivers spring of last year. Rockies picked him up, and he became their number 1 catcher. It doesn't happen very often. They love his defense, and that's why he has the number 1 job.
I was a bit surprised he didn't start last night. I mean, he's 4 days off.
Right.
It's not like you're resting him.
2-0 changeup. Interesting call. 3-0. The pitcher Freeland is out on deck to bat, which might have had something to do with that, but you do have an 8-0 lead.
Go after him.
And you're not facing a power hitter. Walters hasn't homered all year. 3-1. Story at second with 2 out. And Walters fouls back the fastball. 3-2.
Wow.
That'll give you some pick me up.
That thing was hot.
You figure the horsepower is on that.
And the truck too. Can you imagine?
Run you right off the road. 3-2. Fouled away.
I actually had a big Chevy truck with jacked up wheels right
Did
there
you really?
on the Sunrise. No, I didn't have one.
Oh.
He was driving on the Sunrise Highway and he was right on my tail and got me hot.
Yeah.
That's why I played roller derby.
What does that
Stayed
mean?
in the fast lane. Just went right with this guy in the slow lane. Roller derby. Cut off the jam.
Like Mike Gannon. Here's the 3-2. And that's hit foul down the left side. You know Mike Gannon, the fastest man on skates. Joni Weston. Charlie O'Connor.
Charlie O'Connor. The Bay Area Bombers.
Sunday mornings, Channel 11.
Yep.
Roller derby every Sunday morning.
Joan Weston was really the big blonde, right? If I recall. Didn't she have long hair? I forget. It's been so long ago. I was a kid.
3-2 curveball misses, and Walters is on with a 2-out walk. So a double and a walk after 2 out, and now Freeland will come to bat. Freeland has swung the bat well. Look at that, 8 for 36, including a home run off Bronson Arroyo. Now, we've talked many times in these last 2 days about the young Rockies starting pitchers. We'll see one of them tomorrow in Jeff Hoffman, who's done a terrific job for the Rockies, and Freeland. Senzatella, who's won 9 games, is in the minors right now, but is coming back this coming week as they try to manage the innings of these pitchers. There's John Gray, who started last night and struggled for the first time this year. Good sinker by Lugo, and it's 0-2.
And the curveball gets him looking. Side retired. 5 strikeouts for Lugo, just 1 shy of his career high. Seth with 5 scoreless innings. Halfway through, 8-0 New York.
8-0 lead. Jose Reyes, who's been red hot, will lead off for New York, and we check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Gary, he has been red hot since June 16th. Jose Reyes hitting .329, and it's no coincidence that on June 16th, Jose Reyes switched which bat he used in game. Not a major switch, but the knobs of his bat are different now than they were in the past. You see, the one on the left is the more circular, rounded, classic knob that Reyes was using for much of the year, now using more of a flared knob. And you look at those hands, the reason he switched is because he had blisters, really bad blisters, on the inside of the palms that were actually bleeding and very painful during his at-bats because the rounded knob was causing so much friction against his hands. So he decided to switch to his batting practice bat, which is the one with the flared knob. And so far, although he doesn't want to say that's the reason for the hot streak, clearly he's been feeling much more comfortable with the new bat.
I used to get not blisters, but calluses that would run around an inch down that same spot, up and down from the palm of my hand on the outside to my baby finger. Much where Jose's is, but never blister.
Now,
it's very curious.
Of course, you didn't wear batting gloves, and I would have thought that batting gloves would be something that in part would preclude you from getting that kind of blister or callus.
You would think. I used to get them on my
off the mound, Freeland, and makes the play on Reyes, one away.
I used to get them on the balls of my fingers, and could you hold the hands in your fingertips? Maybe they can show the camera in the booth, guys. You always hold the bat. You never grab the bat here. You always want to have it here and then close your hand. So I used to get calluses in all this joint of the fingers right here. And I used to have to get a scalpel because there would be a big ridge and you would just cut them down. Do it around once every 10 days because it would build up that fast playing every day. I was very adept at it.
A scalpel?
Yes. Scalpel, because the scalpel is very sharp. And you would just go like this and have the scalpel, and I would just very carefully ease my way, cut a little bit, because you can cut too deep.
Yeah.
And then you can get, no, it doesn't bleed, but you get into some tender skin, so you really got to be careful. And then you'd get an emery board and kind of.
Well, that's what I would have thought, that you'd use something like an emery board.
No, I got no patience. It takes too long. You got to shave it off, then go to the emery board.
Now I understand. it's all about the expediency. I understand now. As d'Arnaud fouls went off 2-1, but a scalpel, that's so sharp.
Yes.
You could really hurt yourself.
But I was expertise at it.
Good thing you had good hands.
Yes. But anyway, the blister on the palm of the hand, and that wasn't a blister, the callus on the palm of the hand, I never had to use a scalpel there.
2-2 to d'Arnaud, who had an RBI hit in the Mets' 4-run first inning. They tacked on 3 in the second and got a Seth Lugo home run on the third. I never thought of a scalpel as being a baseball tool.
Oh, well, you learn something new every day. That's why they have Ronnie and I in the booth.
You know,
these little tidbits.
I'm thinking if your life had taken a different turn and you had gone to Cal as you were expecting to, you might have gone on to medical school and you could have been a surgeon. You have such good hands.
Think about that. It's
like
Dr.
strikes out for the second out.
Dr. Howard, Dr. Fine, Dr. Howard.
I mean, I think you would have made a great surgeon. I don't know which, where your specialty would have been. Neurosurgery.
I find that what's more interesting, Gary, is that I got accepted at congressional consent for Navy and Air Force.
So you could have been a naval surgeon.
So if I didn't have aspirations professionally, I could have been a commander of a guided missile cruiser.
Freeland throws high and down on the bag in time is Parra, and they get the out on Lugo to end the inning. Seth running hard, trying to beat that out. But Parra got down on the bag in time for the third out.
All of our pitchers, Met pitchers, hustled down that line. Nice play by Freeland. Yes, sir, they got it.
Good call by the first base umpire, Chris Siegel. So Freeland has himself a 1-2-3 inning, and we've played 5. Mets with an 8-0 lead.
Aaron and the rest of the Picks Morning News crew with breaking news, traffic, and sports, plus the latest weather to keep you in the know. Mornings from 5 to 9 on the Picks 11 Morning News, New York's very own. Do they wear the new Picks polos
I don't know,
too? Because these are, you know, this is a debut for these polos, and look, it's 8-0 Mets. I wonder if there's any connection there.
Gare, you got me.
Charlie Blackmon will lead off the 6th inning. We check in with Steve.
Gary, it's always interesting to hear how hitters developed and tweaked their swings over the years, and Charlie Blackmon is no exception. When he was in Double-A, he was really working on that high leg kick, but found that he was overstriding and always off balance, so was looking for a way to cut down his stride. And so what he ended up doing was going out and getting a cinder block. And for 2 weeks during batting practice and in the cage, he would put the cinder block in the batter's box, and that would prevent him from striding too much, because if he did, it would hurt his front foot pretty badly. So he did that for 2 weeks, and now occasionally, if he ever feels like he overstrides, he goes and gets a cinder block and it puts him back in place.
Grounds the curveball to second base, and Cabrera throws him out 1 away.
That makes absolute perfect sense to me, Steve. My father, when we were kids, if we were overstriding, he would put 2x4s down across facing the pitcher. So if you stride too much, if you strode too much, or strided too much, I forget, I don't know the word. Strode's fine. It prevented you from overstriding. So I totally understand the concept there, and it's absolutely correct.
I like the cinder block theory, though.
I like it better than the 2x4. Because it's up higher. It's more like a 4x4.
It's just, you know, it's just an advancement in technology.
Exactly.
From the 2x4 to the cinder block. DJ LeMahieu has one of the 3 hits against Seth Lugo tonight. And he takes a slider for a strike. You know, in Blackmon's case, he came to hitting late. He was a pitcher in college, and it wasn't going well for him, and talked his way onto a summer league team as a hitter, and his entire career path changed.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. Went to Georgia Tech after his initial college experience, and once he got to hitting, he very quickly advanced, and got to the point where he was a 2nd-round pick coming out of college.
The Texas kid, is he not? Dallas, I believe.
Yeah, I think he grew up in Dallas, but wound up in Atlanta at Georgia Tech. And he has established himself as a star in this game. Made his 2nd All-Star team this year. Hit .324 with 29 home runs last year. Quite a season. Grounded to the left side. Reyes on the backhand. Can't come up with it. And LeMahieu was aboard for the 2nd time. It should be an infield hit.
Wondering if TJ had a shot at that. He pulled up here. I think he had a chance for it. And a third baseman, maybe he didn't, but a third baseman should always, if he can get that ball going to his left, get it. Cuts the throw down. It's a tougher play for the shortstop. A longer throw.
It is an infield hit for LeMahieu, his 2nd hit of the night. And now Arenado, who grounded into a double play his last time up after singling to center field his first trip. Out to left field. Cespedes toward the line. Sliding, but he can't come up with it. LeMahieu on his way to 3rd. And Arenado will pull in at 2nd. Nice effort by Cespedes. It's a double for Arenado. His 29th double of the year.
That was a very he could have got hurt on this play. It was pretty awkward and ugly when he hit the ground here. Oh, he hit knee.
Stuck.
It's knee. Watch his right knee. Boom, right there. Wow, he took up some dirt, did he not? I mean, it's grass.
Ramirez and Terry Collins are on their way out to left field to see if Cespedes is okay. He went deep into that sod with that knee.
Yeah, it could be a hyperextension too. Wow, that turf came up.
Well, we were just talking about how Cespedes' legs felt better than they had in a long time.
My feeling is get him out right now. This got an 8-0 lead.
And Conforto and Bruce are going to go out and replace the divot.
Jeez, look at that.
That's a big hill he made.
He's you know what, 8-0. He's going to want to stay. He always wants to stay in.
He does. I mean, he wanted to play in Washington that week before the All-Star break after he had.
Come on, guys.
Suffered that cramp.
Take him in. Just let him go in and get some ice on it. It's 8-0. Get Grandy out there.
See Collins pointing to his hamstring. I think his feeling is that even if Cespedes is okay, he does not want that hamstring to become an aggravation again.
Absolutely. Or that knee. And he's going to come in. Look, is he walking in? Yes, I believe he is. And this is the right call. Come on. I'm sure he's going to be fine, but it's always good if he's got a little tweak there. Put some ice on it.
So Cespedes will come out of the game. He's not walking badly, just slowly.
So I got to believe Conforto will go to left and Granderson will go to center. Watch the right knee. Boy, it's like a.
And it cost him the catch, too, because
it did.
When the knee stuck, he wasn't able to get the extension that he was expecting to. So it's almost like he miscalculated the slide a little bit and went too deep. And so he'll come out. Granderson will come in.
Well, it's almost like his right knee was like a nice ovation from the fans.
So Conforto will move to left. Granderson will play center as Cespedes comes out of the game.
That was almost like a sand wedge taking out some grass on a golf course.
So now the Rockies have second and third and one out. And Gerardo Parra, the batter. Mets, of course, will play their infield back with the big lead. Parra has been up twice, grounded out both times. And he flies this one out to left, chasing Conforto back. He gets there to make the catch, taking a third. LeMahieu will come in with the first Colorado run. Sacrifice fly for Parra makes it 8-1 New York, and there are two out. Now Raimel Tapia will bat with two out and a runner at second. Tapia has struck out and popped up 0 for 2. There are a few days that go by in that man's career as a New York Mets manager where there are not issues to be dealt with. And here in 8-0, now 8-1 game. Everything going right, and all of a sudden he's got to worry about Cespedes' legs again.
Terry has to deal with a lot more things that than the fans realize.
Lugo and Darno having trouble getting on the same page. It's been a rarity tonight. Lugo's been an extremely efficient pitcher tonight. He's walked only 1, struck out 5. And Tapia laces one to right center field. That'll drop for a base hit. That'll bring in a run as Arenado scores. Tapia pulls in at second base with an RBI double. And now the Rockies have a couple on the board here in the 6th. It's 8-2 New York.
Fast, little cutter, didn't do much, got under it a little bit too much. Very no break at all, just sitting on a tee there and up in the strike zone.
So 3 hits have produced 2 runs here in the 6th inning for Colorado. And now Carlos Gonzalez, who's 0 for 2, grounded out and struck out. And the Mets again will put 3 infielders on the right side against him. Curveball hit right into the shift. Cabrera from the outfield grass throws him out, and that'll do it for the 6th inning. Rockies get their first 2 runs against Seth Lugo. Mets lead at 8-2. Between innings for the grounds crew after that divot that was kicked up by Yoenis Cespedes' slide.
I've never seen
out there. What's that tool in his right hand? What is that?
Something pours out of that, I think. Yep. See?
Oh, I see.
Yeah. That's like sand. Yep. I wonder if it's, this irrigation system under the field. I just wonder if that's the cause. I've never seen grass come up like that.
I've never seen a slide quite like that, with a guy's knee going into the turf like that and bringing up that much grass. That was unique. Michael Conforto leading off against Kyle Freeland, who starts his 3rd inning of relief. Conforto walked and scored in the 1st inning. In his 2 at-bats against lefties so far, he has struck out in both. And now facing a different lefty in Kyle Freeland. He throws a fastball by him, and it's 1-2. As Dribble Cabrera on deck, and then Curtis Granderson. The starter for the Rockies, Tyler Chatwood, got pulled in the 1st inning after facing just 5 batters. He walked 3 of them and gave up a home run, and left because of apparent injury. We've not gotten any word as to why Chatwood left the game. Conforto strikes out on the cutter by Freeland, and that's his 3rd strikeout. He's looked awfully good. You can understand how he was able to take a no-hitter into the 9th against the White Sox last Sunday.
Well, he's herky-jerky, hard to pick up. Conforto with 3 strikeouts in a row here. Looking a little bit befuddled by the left-handers with the breaking pitch.
Chris Russin went 2 2/3 in relief, and now Freeland's gone 2 1/3. Now it's Cabrera, who walked and scored in the 1st, since then has grounded out twice. Last time, a nice play by Trevor Story going behind the bag at 2nd and doing the spinorama to throw him out. And a fastball on the corner from Freeland. Fastball away, keeping everything outside of Cabrera. 2-1.
This game just kind of moseying along a little, taking its time here. Kind of big rush, and Mets just took advantage quick. Kind of took the starch out of the Rockies.
Big crowd gathered on a fireworks night. It's 2-2 to Cabrera.
No overhead motion here. Let's open a view overhead, I should say. Interesting leg kick.
He's got that little hesitation like Kershaw does. Not quite the same.
See a lot of that.
I would think as a hitter, that little hesitation, that quirk with that lead leg, it's got to throw off your timing a tad.
If it does, and it could, then it's up to the hitter to make the necessary adjustment to attempt to neutralize it. Because if you get thrown off balance, you're in trouble. I always harken back to Sutcliffe with that motion that he had in the cupped hand behind his back, and there's always a delay in his delivery that got me out in front.
Slowly hit. Story charging. Throws on the run and gets Cabrera 2 out.
There's a more traditional view here. Not much of a motion. Not much of a step back. But he almost like, you notice that he almost toe tapped?
Yeah,
he toe taps before he strikes.
Just comes down.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing about Kershaw that's amazing. He never brings the foot down, but he hesitates and hangs it and then comes forward, which has to take enormous leg strength just to be able to do.
Plus, he throws pretty hard and got a pretty good yacker.
Yeah, that too.
That helps.
Here's Granderson, who walked as a pinch hitter last night.
I'm impressed with this Freeland. He's got good stuff.
Curtis came on when Cespedes left the game after his sliding effort in left field. The guy Cespedes was traded for, Michael Fulmer, had another great game for the Tigers tonight. 8 innings, 2 hits, his 10th win. That was the classic trade that helped both sides.
Helped the Mets more. They got to a World Series. The Tigers have not even had a sniff.
They had a big meeting today. The Tigers did. Brad Ausmus and his team. Just the players, the coaches, and the manager. It's been a very disappointing year for the Tigers. They're 9 games under 500 with their win tonight.
They've never had the pitching.
Well, that's why Fulmer is so important to them.
Right.
With Verlander and Fulmer, you know, you've got 2 legit guys at the front of your rotation.
You got to wonder about Verlander, how much further he can be at a top level. He's shown signs of age. I don't think he's the same pitcher he used to be. That's for sure.
Granderson strikes out on the cutter. 3 impressive innings for Kyle Freeland. 4 strikeouts. He hasn't a lot of hits. Let's go down 1-2-3. Still 8-2 going to the 7th. last night. Not only went 8 brilliant innings, also had the go-ahead hit for the Mets last night.
He was all everything, and I loved his upstairs fastball. We were commenting on it all night. He got a lot of strikeouts upstairs. Those 11 strikeouts. Look at that. He's just really a very accomplished pitcher.
He's won each of his last 6 starts, 10 wins for the year. His next start will be against the Cardinals on Wednesday night. Trevor Story leads off the 7th against Seth Lugo. Story had a double his last time up, 1 for 2. Probably doesn't have happy memories of this place. This was where his season ended last year. Tore up his thumb on a slide. Missed the last 2 months. He rolls over that one down to third, and TJ Rivera, low throw, and just got him. Very close play. You're right about Story. He's faster than he looks.
He's fast, and TJ can't take his time. He's got to know there's too much of the glove pat, and he almost beat it out.
That's what David used to do all the time. That glove tap.
And that is just got him.
It's a good pickup by Duda on the short hop.
That play should have never been that close.
By the way, speaking of players tearing up their thumb on a slide, did you see Mike Trout made his return last night?
1 for 5?
1 for 5 in his first game back, and slid head first, which he said he was going to do. He said he was not going to stop sliding head first despite the thumb injury that cost him 6 weeks. The interesting thing about the Angels is the way that they were able to stay around in the wild card race in Trout's absence. Let's get the bullpen cracking. Paul Sewald, Jerry Blevins, both up and more or less throwing.
I think Terry will be very satisfied getting 7 from Seth.
He has not thrown more than 99 pitches in any of his starts yet this year. Everybody figured that, the Angels, who were struggling even with Trout, that they would fall apart without him. But look, they're only 3 games out in the American League wild card race.
Under 500. That's what I look at, though. It's just, this is what I call. Well, I won't say it. I will not say it.
The number 1 team in their division is 32 games over 500. So it leaves them scrambling for what's available.
I mean, what the wild card has done, the 2 wild cards, obviously, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out, is what that graphic just showed us. That's people are still going to come to the ballpark in the hopes because their team has a chance of getting in.
Well, that's ball 4, and Walters is on with the 1-out walk, and Mark Reynolds will come up to pinch hit. Well, in the American League, every team in the league is in a race. I mean, every team in the American League is within 7.5 games of a wild card, which is closer than the Mets are right now.
It's very clever, Mr. Bond. It keeps fannies in the seats.
So now Mark Reynolds, who started at first base last night, went 0 for 4 and 3 strikeouts. He'll be the pinch hitter for Kyle Freeland, who was very impressive in his 3 innings in relief. Well, we talked early and often about Seth Lugo and his ability to get ahead in the count. He has not done it as well the last couple of innings, and still 2/3 of the time he's thrown a first pitch strike tonight.
Well, Seth knows what he's doing out there. He's a control pitcher. He is a polished pitcher. He's not overpowering. He knows how to pitch and throw strikes, and he's got guts.
This is with a curveball, 2-1.
What do you think? Have you given any thought, Gary, to the front runners in the National League for MVP? Is it too early? I mean, Bryce Harper is having a phenomenal season.
I mean, Ryan Zimmerman got off to the fastest start. 2-2 now to Reynolds. Cody Bellinger has come up and not only injected himself into the Rookie of the Year conversation, but also the MVP.
Bryce Harper, to me, has gotten a lot of big hits. He's having a big power year, RBI year.
Line the other way, coming in Bruce, and he makes the grab to retire Reynolds. 2 out. And now Charlie Blackmon. Blackman's gone 0 for 3 tonight. Flied out, popped up, grounded out.
Looks like Washington is up 6-0 in the top of the 7th over Cincinnati.
And that's with Scherzer.
Cardinals are up 4-0 at Pittsburgh in the 7th.
The other guy that you can't overlook in the MVP balloting, and I say this because he gets overlooked constantly, year after year, is Paul Goldschmidt.
Yes.
He had a down year last year, but every other year he's been in the big leagues, he's been in that conversation, and this year his team is, in postseason position. Curveball misses 2-0.
Yep.
We talked last night about the fact that the Rockies have been more even home and road this year. Well, Blackman's not. He's clearly been better at Coors Field.
He's also the leader at home batting average for home games in the National League at .390.
Pulled down to first and past Duda down the line. Walters on his way to third. It goes all the way into the deep corner, and so Walters will be waved home. Digging for third is Blackmon, and he easily has a triple to drive in a run. It's now 8-3 New York. 11th triple of the year for Blackmon, who leads the league in that category. And Terry Collins, I think, is ready to make a move.
I don't know about this. I think I would let him get out of the inning. I know LeMahieu's got 2 hits off of him.
So Blackmon extends his hitting streak to 10 games, picks up his 11th triple of the year. Paul Sewald will come out of the bullpen to replace Seth Lugo, who exits after 6 2/3 innings with a 5-run lead. Cancer Center, more science, less fear. We'll be right back to Citi Field. Paul Sewald, first man out of the bullpen for New York, comes in to face DJ LeMahieu and gets ahead with a fastball.
Hasn't pitched since that St. Louis series, so this has been a little over a week for him, 8 days to be precise.
All-star break,
4 days, not 3.
So everybody in that bullpen very rested. After the Mets only needed 1 inning of relief last night, Josh Edgin worked the 9th behind DeGrom. Tonight, Seth Lugo goes 6 2/3, allowed 7 hits, 3 runs so far, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, 97 pitches. In line for his 4th win of the year. And LeMahieu with a swing and strike, 1 and 2. By the way, we were just talking about Cody Bellinger and maybe being an MVP candidate. He just hit the cycle in Miami.
He's having an incredible. What would have happened? He missed almost the entire month of April.
Came up late April. Off the fists of foul ball. How about this? Cody Bellinger is only the 5th Dodger to hit for the cycle since World War II. Now, I know you know how easy it is to hit for the cycle.
Yeah, right.
You've done it yourself. Actually, one of those was against the Mets. Wes Parker had a cycle against the Mets. The others, Jackie Robinson, Gil Hodges, Orlando Hudson, and Cody Bellinger. 5 since World War II, 72 years. That's amazing. 1-2 coming, and LeMahieu fouls off the slider. I think there have only been 3 cycles against the Mets in what, 50, this is their 56th year. And Parker has one of those 3. Pretty sure. I'll get Dave to look that up. He's very quick on these things.
He doesn't look like he's very quick tonight.
Sewald comes in and strikes out LeMahieu. And we'll just have to wait for Dave for the next inning. Rockies get a run. I was right. 3 cycles against the Mets.
Who are they?
Wes Parker, Ray Lankford, Vladimir Guerrero.
Ah.
Good job by Sewald to get LeMahieu. 8-3 Mets at the 7th inning stretch. Empower the drive. Jay Bruce got the Mets started with a 3-run homer in the first. Seth Lugo added his first big league home run. Mets put up 8 runs in the first 3 innings. Rockies have gotten a little closer to make it 8-3 as we go to the bottom of the 7th. Seth Lugo, 6 2/3. Definitely a big step in the right direction for him.
I know that Seth would have loved to have completed that inning and gotten 7 innings, 2 runs.
Rockies will bring in their 3rd straight lefty reliever. Jake McGee will come in to pitch the bottom of the 7th. McGee having a very good year. Jay Bruce will lead off in the home 7th. And fouls back the fastball, and you might as well sit dead red with McGee. Throws his fastball 94% of the time.
He's a cheddar man.
Quite an effort by Kyle Freeland in relief. 3 hitless innings. So in Freeland's last 2 outings, he's gone 11 1/3 innings and given up 1 hit. Took a no-hit bid into the 9th Sunday against the White Sox. Comes back with 3 hitless innings in relief tonight. I wonder how often that's happened. That a pitcher takes a no-hit bid into the 9th and then pitches in relief his next time out and goes 3 innings like that. I mean, it only happened because they're trying to save some innings for their young starters, but it seems as though that would be a rarity.
It wouldn't have happened in 50 years ago, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, think back to the days of Dizzy Dean,
right,
where he would start and then pitch in relief between starts.
Lefty Grove, when he won 30 games, he won a couple games in relief.
Right. TJ Rivera on deck, then Lucas Duda for the Mets in the 7th. The Rockies have been carrying 4 lefties in their bullpen, which, you know, when you face the Mets, that's a pretty good idea. Mets have so many lefty hitters up and down their lineup, Conforto and Granderson and Bruce and Duda. So that works out for Bud Black in this series. Last night he used Zach Roskup and Mike Dunn. Today he's used Russin and McGee and a starter Freeland. So he's used 5 different lefty relievers in this series.
I would think he would not want to use McGee, I think, more than an inning or 2. Tomorrow's a day game. Got to try to salvage a victory.
I would think he's getting McGee out in this game just to get him some work coming out of the All-Star break. He might do the same thing the next inning with Greg Holland as closer.
He's still got Ottavino that needs work.
Bruce strikes out, although Holland did pitch in the All-Star game. He pitched that 8th inning for the National League, so they may not have to get him an inning of work. Around the majors, brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Cardinals leading the Pirates, who beat them in walk-off fashion last night. Cody Bellinger, we mentioned, hit for the cycle in Miami. Anthony Rendon having one of those games like he did against the Mets. 2 home runs, including a grand slam. He's driven in 6. Braves lead the Diamondbacks after beating Arizona last night. Here's TJ Rivera, who's been on base all 3 times. A single and 2 walks. He's driven in 1. He's scored 2. And TJ hits one in the air to center field. That's well hit. Back goes Blackman, though. He has room and makes the catch at the edge of the warning track for the 2nd out. So 2 up and 2 set aside at the bottom of the 7th.
Struck well. But 408. That's in front of the track.
TJ has been hitting for some more power lately. Homered last night.
His power is down the line, Gary.
Here's Duda. Lucas tonight a 2-run double. 1 for 3 on the night. Been a couple of weeks since Duda's last home run. And as you mentioned earlier, it's not been a good year for Lucas so far against the lefties. It seems to wax and wane for Lucas from year to year.
He's always had a hard time laying off that bad slider down and away out of the strike zone off a left-hander.
Less of a problem against McGee, who throws almost all fastballs.
You get a guy like this, you just look for the ball out over the plate. Hard thrower, much like Ken Daly used to throw for the Cardinals. Hard thrower over the top.
Threw that one right by him at 97, and Duda is struck out to end the inning. 10 straight Mets have been retired. We go to the 8th at Citi Field, 8-3 New York. to you by NYU Langone Orthopedics. In-game box score for the Rockies brought to you by Infinity. Empower the drive. Rockies have scored 3 runs in the last 2 innings to get a little closer in this game. 8-3 as we start the 8th. Nolan Arenado takes a strike from Paul Sewald. Arenado 2 for 3 tonight, and a good slider by Sewald gets him ahead 0-2. Arenado singled to center in the first, grounded into a double play in the 4th, and then in the 6th at the sinking drive to left that Cespedes tried to make a sliding catch on. Cespedes dug his knee into the turf, came up limping, and came out of the game. It went as a double for Arenado. No word on Cespedes yet. No word, for that matter, on the Rockies starter Tyler Chatwood, who left the game in the first inning tonight because of injury. And the Rockies have not announced anything about his status. Each team with 7 hits today. And that's on the outside corner, and Sewald gets Arenado looking for the first out in the 8th. So Sewald has faced 2 batters and struck them both out.
Good paint right there. Knees in black, outside corner. Look at that beautiful thing.
That's going to be it for Sewald. With the left-hand hitter coming up, Terry Collins is going to bring Jerry Blevins into this game. Get him an appearance coming out of the All-Star break. Job well done by Sewald. He retired his only 2 hitters. Mets are going to make a double switch here. 8-3 in the 8th. Blevins coming into the game. Called to the bullpen, brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. More science, less fear. We'll be right back. Well, if you're a pitcher and you want to figure out whether the ball is juiced, what better to do than to take it apart? And that's exactly what Zach Wheeler is doing.
I would recommend the scalpel.
He prefers the scissors. A little more control. Jerry Blevins in to face Gerardo Parra. Blevins, like Sewald, hasn't pitched in 8 days. And comes inside with the fastball to Parra, ball 1. With Matt Reynolds in to play third, he'll bat 9th. Pitcher goes in the 5-hole as T.J. Rivera's out. Blevins had a wonderful first half until the last couple of weeks, and then struggled, and now trying to get it relit to start the second half. Parra is 0 for 2 with a sacrifice fly tonight, and the curveball bends in for a strike, 1-1. Paul Sewald faced 2 batters, struck them both out after Seth Lugo went the first 6 2/3. Seth allowed 3 runs, 7 hits, couple of walks, 5 strikeouts. Parra 0 for 2 in his career against Blevins. And Jerry's curve misses inside, 2-1. The surgery continues. Cover off. What's next?
Oh, there it goes.
2-2 to Parra. See, now that's where you need the scalpel. Once you get the cover off and you cut the seams, it's very hard then to peel that next layer.
Right.
Two coming. Curveball struck him out. So Blevins fans the first man to face him. 2 out in the inning.
Well, the big sweeping curveball is a signature pitch for Blevins here, and gets Potter out in front and chasing. It's almost like the curveball that Frank Viola had, but Frank had a big more of a I'm trying to think here. For me, it would be a 1 o'clock to 7. Big sweeping curveball and took a lot off like Blevins. It's a big weapon for Frank.
Now Raimel Tapia flailing at the curveball. Tapia doubled in a run his last time up.
Everybody talks about Viola's changeup.
Right.
Frank had a wicked off-speed curve.
Oh, the fastball drills Tapia, and he'll go to first base. Arno set up inside. They wanted to buzz him. They didn't want to hit him.
Of course not.
Right above the knee. Darno's grimacing more than Tapia. Shared pain. First batter Blevins has hit this year, so a 2-out base runner. Now Carlos Gonzalez, who's gone 0 for 3 without getting the ball out of the infield. In fact, in this series, 0 for 6 without getting the ball out of the infield.
Boy, it's just, it does. He's mired in a deep season-long slump.
He had a stretch in June when he went 0 for 27. I mean, this is just not what he's accustomed to. 2 years ago, he had 40 home runs and hit 271. Last year, he had 25 home runs and hit 298. This year, 6 home runs, and his average is down to 216. Curveball 1-1. I mean, we're talking about one of the elite hitters in baseball whose season could not have gone worse. That 2014 season, he was hurt for half the year, so kind of an asterisk there. One and two.
It's another one of those hitters with the big leg kick. And Blevins is the kind of guy with that slow curve, can get you out in front.
Well, he hasn't come close to 2 in a row.
Stands way off the plate.
Now the curve, this one he lays off. 2-2. Gonzalez just 31 years old. Should have good seasons ahead of him. But this has been a nightmare for a 3-time All-Star. 2-2. Curveball struck him out. So Blevins sandwiches a couple of strikeouts around a hit by pitch. Successful inning for the Mets bullpen. Blevins gets his man. 8-3 New York in the 8th. always a staple. Try the French fries. Recommend them highly. Our next Picks telecast will be next Saturday when the Mets take on the A's. Coverage begins at 6:30 with Spectrum Picks pregame right here on New York's very own Picks 11. New York native Adam Ottavino on to pitch the bottom of the 8th.
Hasn't been a good year for Ottavino.
Jose Reyes leads off in the home 8th and takes a fastball for a strike. Ottavino went to the Berkeley Carroll School in Brooklyn, on to Northeastern University. Now 31 years old. Reyes 1 for 3 tonight, singled back in the first inning. And he rockets one to deep right field. Forget that. That is way out of here into the Coca-Cola corner. Jose Reyes with his 9th home run of the year. And the Mets tack on a run. It's 9-3. Reyes continues his hot hitting. Mets' 3rd home run of the night.
Well, that was a no-doubter. Hanging slider.
It's the 7th home run Ottavino's given up this year in just 31 innings. D'Arnaud takes a slider for a strike.
You can see the slider. Oh, it did nothing. It says, here, hit me. Up in the strike zone.
Jose obliged. Sometimes hitters ignored that message.
We didn't mention that the streak that Jose's on over those. This is now 23 games. He's got 26 hits, and half of them are now extra base hits. 6 home runs in that too. He has just been not hitting singles. Oh, look at that. He's got it working.
He's denuding that ball.
You need a cat now. Put it in front of a cat.
And play for hours. Poked to the second baseman LeMahieu, and he throws out D'Arnaud one away. Well, it's amazing the turnaround for Jose Reyes. In the middle of June was hitting 184, and over the last month he has turned it completely around offensively. It doesn't exactly coincide when he moved to shortstop full time, but it's right about that time.
Well, he was just, I mean, he's not over the hill. He's not 37, 38 years old. And he was just in such a bad slump. He had to break out of it sooner or later.
Well, the other piece is, if you remember early in the season when he was playing third base every day and struggling so mightily at that position, it just compounded the impression that, well, maybe he didn't have a lot left at age 34, but he has certainly put that to rest. The interesting thing about Reyes, of course, is that, as Addison Reed is up in the Mets bullpen, is that he and Ahmed Rosario text or talk just about every day. And Sandy Alderson was asked during his press conference yesterday about older players mentoring younger players, and that's a situation where you could see it actually work, because Reyes and Rosario do have a relationship. And maybe when Rosario does get here, Reyes will provide help. Reynolds hits one down the line, and that'll hook foul. But as you said yesterday, that's not going to work with everybody. But for some older players, they're willing to do that.
There's more that you can give to a team, Gary, than just your numbers.
Well, also, if you'll remember, when Reyes came to spring training this year, the idea was that he was going to be a utility player, a guy who would play not only shortstop and third base, but also some second base and perhaps some center field. It hasn't worked out that way because he was needed at third base to play every day early in the season. Now he's playing shortstop every day. But if Rosario does come up, you know, Reyes goes back into that mode and certainly can be of value. 2-2 to Reynolds, and he lifts this one to shallow left center. And Tapia in to get it. 2 out.
Well, Ottavino here, watch his shoulder and throw. Watch his front foot, his stride foot towards the third base dugout. And that's throwing across your body. And that's going to help him with his slider. But you can also hang it. It is a lot of margin for error there. A big margin for error.
There was a time when organizations would do everything they could to keep pitchers from throwing across their body. It's less of an imperative, it seems, these days. Here's Conforto. And that's about as extreme an example as there is. Conforto finally gets to face another right-hander. His last 3 at-bats were against lefties, and he struck out all 3 times after walking in the first inning. Ball and a strike. And it looks like Addison Reed's going to get an inning in the 9th. His first outing since the break. He'll get the lower third of the order.
Day game tomorrow. You're an everyday player and you're in the line tomorrow. It's like Addison. 1, 2, 3. Get us in the clubhouse.
Fastball strike 1 and 2.
Getting there.
He's getting to that next layer where it's less string and more yarn. Hope he's done by the time he has to pitch. It's not till Monday night. 2-2 to Conforto. Wheeler had a very encouraging outing his last time out in St. Louis. And the Mets are hoping that that's going to be a bellwether for his second half. Nice job. Very nice job. Oh, here he is. He's going to keep going with the yarn. Wait till he gets to that rubber core in the middle. 2-2 inside and low. Did you ever take part of baseball?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I did it when I was a kid.
I did it when I was a kid. I did it when I was an adult. It's just something when you got time on your hands and you're playing baseball that you could do.
You know how silly I was? I took apart a baseball and I saved all the stuff and then I tried to put it back together again.
Oh, please.
You can't do it. You can't wrap it that tight.
You're out of your mind.
Well, yeah. That was my point. And Conforto strikes out for the 4th straight time. So Conforto fitted for the golden sombrero, but the Mets had a run on Reyes' home run, and they'll hand it off to Addison Reed for the 9th with a 9-3 lead over the Rockies. Brought to you by Ram Trucks, Guts, Glory, Ram.
Ninth inning at Citi Field. Addison Reed will try and get the final 3 outs.
Well, getting his work here, a non-save situation. And he has done a splendid job filling in for Jeurys Familia.
8 days since his last outing. He worked a 1-2-3 inning to get a save for the Mets in their Friday night game in St. Louis. And he'll try and get the final 3 outs here. Trevor Story will lead off in the ninth for the Rockies as the Mets are 3 outs away from making it 2 straight to begin the second half.
Getting there.
Do you think this is the first time that Zach has ever taken apart a baseball? Or do you think that he's doing it to try and compare this ball with balls he has taken apart in the past? Story is 1 for 3 tonight, and he fouls the first one down the right field side. That'll go out of play. 0-1. Seth Lugo went the first 6 2/3 innings. He's in line for the win. Paul Sewald struck out his only 2 batters. Jerry Blevins struck out 2 in his 2/3 of an inning. And now Reed trying to finish up. And Story takes a fastball for a strike, and it's 0-2. Well, the game is finally over in Boston. The Yankees scored 3 runs in the top of the 16th to beat the Red Sox 4-1.
Big win for the Yanks after losing that one last night.
Story out on 3 pitches, and there's the first out in the ninth. Play of the game brought to you by Spectrum. Get the Spectrum triple play today, and it was Seth Lugo at the plate.
How about that?
First big league home run, a bullet into the seats in left center. Got the silent treatment when he came in. Handled it like a pro. Came in his 27th career at bat. Gave the Mets an 8-0 lead at the time and put them in great position. Scalded foul off the bat of Tony Walters. I like the picture-in-picture of the Zach Wheeler surgery continuing in the dugout. He's getting there. It's getting smaller and smaller.
Well, he's getting impatient too. He's really doing the quick work.
Well,
now.
he wants to be done before the game's over.
You gotta be careful here. You can blow it.
Don't want to rip the thread. Fastball strike to Walters, and it's 0-2. Alexi Amarista on deck to pinch hit. Right in the middle is a little rubber core.
Yep. It's a Super Bowl.
Just missed. 1-2 to Walters. Tomorrow, Steven Matz for the Mets. Rookie Jeff Hoffman goes for the Rockies in the final game of this series. Quick pitch. Comebacker for Reed. 2 out. And the Rockies are down to their final out, with Amarista coming up to pinch hit. Coming up next on Pix 11, it's the Pix 11 News. And on SNY, it's WB Mason Postgame Live. Well, Sandy Alderson said last night for the Mets to change their plans going in toward the trading deadline, they would have to play exceedingly well. For 2 nights, the Mets have played exceedingly well. They've outscored the Rockies the last 2 nights 23-5. And hope to be going for a sweep tomorrow afternoon. Amarista had an at-bat last night, struck out against Josh Edgen in the 9th inning. The little ninja facing Addison Reed takes low and in for ball 1. And the mission is
there it
accomplished.
It looks like a Tootsie Pop.
Without the stick. 2-0 to Amarista. On the way, we talked about the Yankees and Red Sox.
Yes.
Going 16 team today. They have a day-night doubleheader tomorrow.
Yes, they do.
After a 16-inning game.
1 and 8 o'clock, correct?
That's rough. They might need some complete games. Reed behind 3-0. There's a strike. 3-1. Fouled away, and now the Rockies are down to their final strike. Big crowd waiting for fireworks, hoping Reed can put on the finishing touches. Fouled away. Keeps it going. Rockies are on the verge of losing for the 15th time in their last 20 games. Before that stretch, they were in first place. If they lose this game, they'll be 11 games out. 8th pitch of the at-bat coming to Amarista. And once again, keeps this game going.
Well, we're clearly in the position here. 9-3. Here's a fastball. 3-2. I'm not going to give you a free pass.
Line down the left field line toward the corner. That's a foul ball.
So Amarista just barely missing an extra base hit. And Reed will have to gear it up again.
Having fun with Dad.
Pitch number 10 from Reed. And Amarista takes strike 3 cold, and the ball game is over. Addison Reed with a 1-2-3 ninth. Seth Lugo gets the win and hits his first big league home run. The Mets overwhelming the Rockies for the second straight night and definitely playing exceedingly well in their first 2 games coming out of the break as they win tonight 9-3.
Well, they caught a break tonight. They jumped out early. The 3-run home run by Bruce is 24th. 62nd RBI, 62 RBIs on the year. Second inning, an error by LeMahieu opened the floodgates for 3 unearned runs that blew the drawers off this game.
Jose Reyes added a home run. Mets hit 3 home runs tonight. They've outscored the Rockies 23-5 in the first 2 games of this series. And they will go for the sweep of the series tomorrow afternoon. Game summary brought to you by your local Ford dealers. Seth Lugo gets the win and hits his first home run. Yoenis Cespedes left the game after making a sliding attempt in left field. And we'll see about his condition following the game. Mets get within 6 games of 500 and get within 8.5 games of the Rockies for the second wild card spot as they win it tonight 9-3 to take the first 2 games of the series. We'll come back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.